there was elements of her appearing stereotypical in some moments, but then kind of getting a little more nuanced and getting different subtleties of her character to come through. So that was like the original inspiration, and then also finding ways, like contemplating like what freedom actually is to a person, and also knowing that like we think that freedom sometimes comes from, you know, a lot of external things, or can be limited by external things, but it's also like what are our limitations that we place on ourselves. The script, I guess we started writing it a long time ago. Actually, I started it probably several years ago because I had written it originally as a feature. But then this fellowship came along, the Netflix and La Leaf Fellowship, and we pitched it as a short, and we just wrote it from there, and or I wrote it from there, and the rest is kind of history.
And also, speaking about getting to work with Netflix and receiving the grant from them, I also wanted to ask about that process and what that collaboration with them was like as well.
Yeah, it was really great. I felt like there was a lot of support, because a lot of those executives that worked with us and in molding the script, whether from reading it or the mentors that we had, what I really enjoyed was that they were all Latino executives, so they understood the sensibility of the story. They were keen to make sure that the story succeeded. So that was really, really great, because sometimes there can be like a lot of pressure to be a certain way with the story or market the story a certain way. And they were very, very encouraging to make sure that the creative voice was always there. So that was really great, I think, as a creative, because sometimes when you're creating a story and you have to compromise, that can be like a really full feeling. So it was just great that we were able to just create the story that we wanted to create.
And in terms of producing the film and what that process was like approaching making the movie in terms of producing.
Basically, we received notice that we had received the grant at the end of December, I think, and then that we had to have the film shot and delivered by the end of April. So it was kind of a more condensed process. Luckily, I've worked on a lot of different shoots where we only have like maybe a week to deliver something massive. So I was kind of familiar with all the steps that we needed to take. So it was just kind of a matter of, okay, this is our deadline. What is it that we need to get done? Luckily, we did end up shooting in North Carolina. That was, I think, something that kind of set the film apart is not having it take place in Los Angeles like so many films do. So we kind of got, it's a familiar story, but it's taking place in a part of the world, in a part of the country that you don't normally see focused on. So it was great to really, get to know not only that part of the country, but just also working with people down there who were really just excellent. We had an excellent crew. We brought everybody in to North Carolina, and I can't say enough about how smooth the production went.
And also, speaking about getting to shoot the film on location in North Carolina, I also wanted to ask you all about that experience and getting to go to a different part of the country, like you mentioned, and not being maybe in LA, and just what that process was like of getting to shoot the film there as well.
I'm going to kick it back over to Evelyn because this is her home turf.
Well, no, I was going to say, like, what is like Viktor feels like, because Viktor is, originally from the Ukraine, and then Los Angeles, and then going to North Carolina, which I don't think he's ever been either. So.
Well, first of all, like I love the town. I think it was perfect for the story, and it's also, like you said, it's good to, have that element that sets you apart, because a lot of people do shoot in Los Angeles. Even after like watching the movie festival, like we saw plenty of that. So it was definitely a breath of fresh air, and it lets you like focus on the story more. you're not as focused on location, because Los Angeles is such a big factor. Like, you include that in the story, you have to include a lot of other things, which could take away from what the meaning of the short film was. So I think it was perfect.
I know that, like, personally, like for me, just shooting it there, obviously I am originally from there, so it didn't feel like a weird thing, but it felt really important to the story. And I don't know, I feel like I got really excited to like share this place that like really only meant something to me for a really long time, but then to like bring in other people, like, you know, it felt like it wasn't like this little like secret part of like my life before. Now it just felt like, oh, we're telling this story together and sharing this town as well.
And then I also wanted to ask you, Evelyn, and also you, Victor, about starring in the movie and why you both felt drawn to also play roles in the movie and what that experience was like of becoming attached to the story.
Well, I know that working with Victor, it's like an easy thing. I feel like we got along really well. He's somebody that just naturally is so open and passionate, like whether he's dancing or acting, and I just feel like it's the passion just like kind of shines through whatever he does, which was one of the reasons that I felt he was also right for the role, because the role itself can easily just become like, you know, this like everyday kind of Caucasian guy. But I also wanted him to have a little bit of an edge and something different. And I thought it was really cool that we were able to incorporate like a little bit of like even a Ukrainian dialogue in the film, and just show that this person had more dimensionality than just, oh, I'm this guy, you know? And so that was really interesting and great, the way that Victor brought himself to that. But I guess just like, you know, that particular storyline was very much about showing that Gabriela in the film had an ally. And there was a little bit of self-sabotage, obviously, later, where she just is in disbelief and doesn't believe that this person can actually like be with her in some way. But I think he's like a moment of hope, and for her, where she's felt, I think, a little more self-conscious for most of her life. In that moment, she has a little bit of hope, seeing the world like through his eyes a little bit.
For me, it was you know, when I read the script, I was like, oh, I'm just kind of playing myself. So it was really good, because it was like, for me, it was the acting debut in a way, and it made it really easy for me to just not act. To be honest, I was just playing a lot of stuff that happened in my personal life. I felt like I was just recreating on camera now. So and also I like the change that Evelyn did, and she took the character that I was playing, Stefan, and she kind of turned Stefan into Vic, but like incorporating a little bit of dancing, incorporating my my home country, my home language, on top of like just the relationship between Stefan and Gabriela. Is something that I personally went through with somebody like in the past. So everything, I was like, really feels like I'm just playing myself. And another cool detail is that even though, you know, the story is about this struggle of like, you know, being kind of feeling like you're out of place, like you don't belong. And, you know, on one side you have Gabriela who's going through that, and then you have Stefan. He's like he's representing, like, you know, he is Caucasian, he's a white guy, so he like fits in, but at the same time, that change of me being like from Ukraine, I'm also like, it looks like I fit in, but at the same time, I'm not all the way like the rest, you know, the people that are kind of like segregating, showing that kind of, I guess, not showing love to Gabriela, you know, that's how the other people are. And me being part of that, I'm like also different. So it's a lot of different dynamics with those characters, and I just think it's really well thought through, you know.
So, what was the experience like getting to work together and building the characters? And did you have any rehearsal time together? And what was that experience like?
I mean, everything was pretty much like, yeah, we went over the lines and stuff, but it was pretty much like, boom, let's just get to it. And then we got to it, and then it came out good. It was really good. The crew was on it, you know, they made everything look really good. So, yeah, we were prepared already, even before we got to the set. And then from there, everything just went smoothly. We just went for it and we did it. Everything happened really fast too. We didn't waste no
Yeah.
time.
I mean, there was like a little brief, I think the day before we were able, or the week, or the day before the week shooting, we were able to practice a little bit. But I mean, like I said earlier, like because we were on such a tight schedule, things were moving a little bit faster than we wanted. But at the same time, like I said, it was very easy to work with, like Viktor and our crew. And so building, I think that chemistry was just kind of naturally there. It was either going to be there or it wasn't, you know. And so I was really happy that it just, the stars kind of aligned with that.
And I also wanted to ask about you, Evelyn, about directing the film and what that experience was like for you, and really approaching directing in addition to starring in the film.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, it's like a lot of people have asked me, like, why did you, you know, do all of that and decide to like go nuts, I guess. It was an interesting challenge for me because it was almost learning how to really think on your feet, because you have to switch that part of your brain very quickly. So you're doing one thing and then you have to, you know, be able to still be open enough to now switch over into performing. I really don't have a way to explain how I did it. It just kind of was all very intuitive, and I kind of flowed with it. So yeah, I'm not sure how to really answer that, you know, question, like in terms of like technical ways of switching between doing all those things. But I will say that the directing part was actually really rewarding. And while it was really challenging, because you really do have to manage every single aspect of production in a lot of ways, and make sure that you have a vision. Like if people are asking you questions, you have to be able to answer those questions very quickly. That was a new skill, I think, for me in terms of that, because when you're on the performing side, which is what I've primarily done, you're usually, you know, being tailored to a lot as an actor, I think. So it was interesting to, I guess, switch some of that for myself. But just in terms of the vision, I really, like I said, I really wanted to make sure that every moment was infused with some form of humanity, and really trying to keep everything really nuanced and subtle. Just layers and subtlety were really important to me in all aspects of the film, and also making sure that that water theme really carried through the film as well.
And also, speaking about the water theme and the water sequences in the film, what was that experience like? You able to really get to work on that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all just talking about that before you joined on, is that there was some limitations for like personal reasons, and also it's hard to shoot underwater. So just to be clear, like those shots are actually not underwater. They are dry for wet. So I don't know if you're familiar with the film Shape of Water, but The Shape of Water did a similar thing where you've got people like on tire wires, and you're doing things on a sound stage, etc. So we did that with the help of EU East Grand Gem Studios, that is in Wilmington, North Carolina. And we were able to, basically I'm hanging on like stunt wires, and Brett Copes, our stunt coordinator, who was like so good with Constance Palmer, they were able to choreograph these scenes with us and really create something beautiful with our cinematographer, Xenia Patricia. And in the end, we had to do like a VFX sort of compositing that created all of that, all of those water sequences. So not to ruin the magic, I guess, but they are not real.
So what was the experience like getting to edit the film and put the final version of the movie together, and how did you collaborate together to really put that final version?
The final version of the film was a little bit tricky because we did have a test screening in Los Angeles. And off that test screening, we kind of, gathered everything together and realized we wanted to make the film a little bit shorter. So that process, I think from when we got the approval till now, was actually been about a year. Just creating and from production to now. And it wasn't, I don't feel like it was terribly difficult to be, because Morris and I kind of like both edited the film together, because Morris, I think, asked at first if we were going to find an outside editor, and I said I wanted to be more hands-on with the film because the film just means a lot to me. And so I wanted to be a little more hands-on with that, which is a little unorthodox. I'm aware that usually when you do a film, you send it off to the post house first and then do all that. But I really wanted to be hands-on. And so it didn't feel like, I thought it was going to feel a lot stranger to just jump from production to then editing, but it was just kind of seamless. So that was good.
We would start passing timelines back and forth just so I could, check certain things. But then eventually got to the point where Evelyn kind of took over the process because it was such a personal film. I thought it was better for her to just live in it, be hands-on with it, and for her just to kind of take over. And then I would kind of resume my role as a producer, kind of giving feedback on notes and things. And then kind of I would just look at some more of the technical things for delivery and such. And that's kind of the way that we work through this process of getting it to where it is today.
Also, what's the experience been like of gearing up to go to the Atlanta Film Festival and share the movie with audiences there, and getting to premiere the movie at the festival?
It's been awesome. Like I'm so happy to be here. I'm actually here right now and able to attend the festival. I kind of wish everyone else was able to also come, because that would be great. But it's been great. We've been getting, a really great reception. People are excited to see the film, like, just marketing away. And right now we're actually eligible. We are in competition at the Narrative Shorts. We're eligible for those categories, best for Georgia Short, and also eligible for potential audience awards. So if anyone views the film, they can view the film online and then vote afterwards for the film. It's just a really, honestly, I was so pleased that we were, just a part of this large festival, which has just had so many great artists come through it. So
I think that was mainly it, but thank you all again for taking the time out to speak with me. I appreciate it.
thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you for joining us.